Welcome, everyone. I'm super excited today to welcome Frank Dibullo to the Monterey podcast. He is the owner of Dian Construction Services, which they specialize in rebar detailing, estimating, construction drawings. I mean, we're going to dive into all of that with Frank. So I just want to give him an opportunity to introduce himself. Welcome to the show and give a little bit of a brief history into how he became the owner of Dian Construction Services. So welcome, Frank.
Okay. Hello, Dominic. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Frank Dibullo. I'm the owner of Dian Construction Services. We specialize in rebar detailing and estimating. We are an engineering firm based out of New York. We do work across the states as well as Canada.
All right, Frank. So I think it would be great to get a little bit of a background as to what led you to starting Dian Construction Services way back when.
Sure. Well, my journey started back in 2007. I started working for a successful concrete contractor as a delivery boy, delivering materials, checks to job sites. Did that for about 2 years. And then one day my boss called me into the office and he said, Frank, I don't need you delivering materials anymore. I kind of need you to come into the office and learn the engineering side of things. I did that for probably the better half of 6 years. One thing led to another, and in 2014, I decided to open up my own engineering firm, Dian Construction Services.
I mean, that's the American dream, right? Everyone wants to
Yes.
potentially start their own business. And I think a lot of the people that I talk to, I always ask the same question, how nervous were you? Were you scared? Was there anything that like you were afraid of when you made that jump, or were you ready to go right in? And what helped you be successful off the bat?
I was ready to go right in. I always took a positive approach to things. I like to wake up early, get to the gym, and always start my day on a good foot. Starting that business, I felt like I was kind of ahead of the curve, ready to go. I had a nice client list. I had some jobs. So we were just ready to dive right in. To say I was successful throughout the 12 years I've been doing this, no, there's been peaks and bounds throughout the whole journeys, but it's all worth it.
I haven't talked to anyone who has said that it's not worth it. Okay, Frank. Well, why don't you speak a little bit about what you did in order to grow the business when you first began, and now you're 10, 12 years into it. So speak to some of the strategies that you employed to grow Dian Construction Services.
Well, to grow Dian Construction in the beginning to now, it's a lot of sweat equity, a lot of early mornings and late nights. It was very important for us to grow a strong team around what we are building, because as you know, you're only as strong as the people that work for you and with you. So my focus was bringing on the right staff with, more importantly, the right attitude to help get us to that next level. I was very big, very, very big on attitude and approach, rather than so much skill. And that's really helped me scale to where we are today. Very, very important.
Awesome. So why don't you talk a little bit about, what you guys do? So, you hear rebar estimating, detailing, construction drawings. Not everyone might know exactly what we're talking about there. So
That's
kind of
right.
give a brief, overview of what that means.
Yes, I'll give you a brief overview. So our bread and butter is the rebar shop drawings. So look outside, you see concrete. I like to tell people concrete is the second most used product in the world. Number one is water. So just to give you the volume and mass of what concrete is. Our drawings are reinforcement shop drawings. Rebar is what strengthens the concrete. So in order to pour the concrete, you have to have some sort of rebar in it to keep it strong and lasting. So what we do is we create a set of shop drawings based off of a set of structural drawings that we get from an engineer, and we kind of outline the elements, whether it be footings, columns, beams, walls, slabs, anything that gets casted in concrete, we would create a rebar shop drawing for.
If I understand correctly, you're basically the engineer is designing the steel portion of the concrete structure, and you're taking
Yes.
those engineered calculations and saying, here's how you need to actually put together the steel in order for it to maintain that structural integrity that the engineering is seeking.
Exactly. Like you're going to IKEA and you're buying a piece of furniture. Now you have to go home and put that piece of furniture together. We're giving you that set of directions, the bar size, the bend type, the proper lengths. We would provide that in our drawings. Correct.
Awesome. Now, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've worked on or that you're currently working on? Because now that we understand what you guys do, I mean, I know that you've
Sure.
worked on some pretty interesting projects that I was able to do some research on. That I think it'd be really good for you to kind of hit on those.
Absolutely. A lot of our work beginning from when we did start the business was in New York. Particularly, some of the bigger jobs was on Billionaires Row, 57th Street. We had the honor of working on the Central Park Tower. That was a 17,000 ton structure that went up approximately 1,400 feet in the air, cantilevered, I think 300 feet out. So that was one that I always, keep close to my chest. Another project we did simultaneously, that was Riverside 3 and 4. That was a job, again, on 57th Street. Both buildings were going up at the same time. The amount of coordination, you were looking at like 12,000 tons of steel um, that we've got to detail, and work with the concrete contractor who was pouring concrete on 2-day cycles. So just the amount of coordination and effort that went into it was just massive. Did a ton of work at Hudson Yards. We did the retail podium mall. It was 1 million square feet of mall that went up at Hudson Yards. Currently, we're working. Our big one is, I think you see it a lot in the news, is the Gateway Tunnel. We're doing a phase with a contractor. They're tunneling from Hudson Yards across the river. So that's going to be a cool project once that's done. So yeah, there's a ton. I mean, those are some of the big ones. We've had opportunity to go work in Florida. We've done a ton of work down there, superstructure wise. The way they build, just massive. California, great industry. A lot of colleges out there. Las Vegas. We've done a ton of buildings out there. Texas. I mean, anything from New York all the way to the West Coast. We've dabbled on. And another thing I like to say is nothing is too small for us to take on, and nothing is too big. I named some of these big projects, but there's also a ton, hundreds upon thousands of little jobs that we've done as well. So I do like to preference that.
That's good. I mean, we don't always want to forget about the little man, right? You know.
Absolutely not. We
Yep.
take those with open arms, and some of those jobs are great. You're in and out. So it's absolutely not.
When you say all these different projects that you've dabbled in and worked on, are you just providing the drawings? Are you actually going out working with maybe the project management team, the construction managers on site at
Sure.
all?
Absolutely. So a lot of these big projects, they bring us in from inception, from the actual estimate to now it's time to do the drawings. And then from there, yeah, we are going on the site. We are coordinating with project managers. We're coordinating with the field guys. We are coordinating with this steel supplier as well. It's very important. Once we get those drawings, once we have that approval, now it's time to release the material. So we're sending bar lists to the steel fabricator. They're releasing it. They're asking us how do they stack it on the truck for when we get when the material lands to the job site. How is it going to be picked off? So yes, we are with these companies from very very beginning stages to the very end. To close outs and as builds.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think communication is key in construction, right? You need to be able
It's
to.
everything.
It's everything. You need to know what's going on. Everyone needs to be on the same page. I mean, one person not on the same page, and a lot of issues can arise from that, in my experience.
Absolutely. And in construction, there are just so many moving parts that I don't want to say mistakes do happen, but there's just so much going on. It's very important to always be communicative. And I always stress that with my team. If there's an issue, guys, we're not going to hide behind a rock. We're not going to send an email. We're going to pick up the phone and we're going to call the client and we're going to talk through everything. I think communication is the number one thing in this business.
I think that's really a good point that you said there is, pick up the phone. I know with
Yeah.
today's day and age, everyone loves to just shoot an email or shoot a text message and be like, conversation. I know that they understood what I was, referencing and what I was trying to relay to them. So I know it's going to get executed the way that I want it to now, and not just like sending a
Yes.
electronic transmission and hoping that everything works out from there. So that's good that you guys
Yes,
still do that.
correct. And there's a lot of keyboard cowboys out there. So
Yep.
we like to pick up the phone, speak with the client, and then, we don't always do it, but it's very important. I try to get in the habit to just memorialize the conversation in an email, because things, you do get off the phone sometimes and things do get forgotten. So it's very important just to memorialize it. Hey, per the conversation, we are going to go in this direction. Have a nice day. That's all.
Yep. So why don't we pivot a little bit and talk about
Sure.
some trends we're seeing? You know what I mean? In your
Yes.
industry, where do you
Hmm.
see concrete construction, rebar estimation, construction drawings? Like, where do you see it going? Is it obviously you said it's the second most used material besides water, so it's not going anywhere. So what are you
Yeah.
witnessing?
What am I witnessing? I'm witnessing it getting busier than ever, especially, now that we are a nationwide company. There's just so much work out of there, so much work, so much opportunity out there. I really don't see it going anywhere. I just see it getting stronger and bigger.
Awesome. What I
Yeah.
mean, what challenges are you encountering today then with that growth, right? With the expansion of it just blowing up. I mean, what challenges are you experiencing? What challenges do you expect to see? Anything?
Well, there's always challenges in scaling and when to scale and when to bring on another project manager. So there's always challenges there. So I like to always be proactive, whether we're hiring or not hiring. I'm always, on the look for, somebody who would be a good fit within our team. So I think that is the biggest challenge is scaling, but I do think we are fielding it properly here at Dian. So
How
that
are
in
you
that
how are you looking for those right candidates? Like what are you doing to ensure that like you're always on the lookout and you're finding the right people?
Well, I do a lot of work with on Indeed and LinkedIn. Those are my top two sources. You know,
Awesome. And they've been successful for you then.
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, I have a great team now, and that's how I found majority of them. So yeah,
Good. That's good to hear. So, what
sure.
about on the efficiency side of things? So, are you looking at improving or implementing any new systems into what you already do with your construction drawings or your processes on how you get them out to the jobs and go over them with the construction managers or anything like that?
Well, our process has changed. In 2017, I prided myself on us being an all-American rebar detailing company, and I noticed that the want to detail rebar in the States just kind of, shrunk. And, I remember I had 20 people in my office and I was losing them one by one. So I came to a crossroads and it was either we, close the doors or we kind of pivot. So I've made some very successful partnerships across seas. And what I do here is I have senior project managers who act as the liaison between my client and my overseas. So that is something that we do, that we have worked on and strengthened throughout the years. I think back 8, 9 years ago, people would hear that and they would kind of frown upon it. But in full transparency, that's kind of the way of the industry right now. So it's either you kind of grow with it or you shut down. And we decided to, pivot and kind of grow in terms of that. So I'm always, developing more teams as well as project managers. So
It's always important, I feel like, for a business to be able to adapt, right? And that's all you did, right?
yes,
You saw an opportunity to adapt and increase the efficiency and make your business a stronger advocate for what you're doing. There's nothing that I don't think anyone here would, look at you differently for doing so. And obviously, it's worked out well.
sure. I appreciate the kind words.
It would be interesting. So, where do most people, find you as far as if they're looking to for your services? Where have you been most successful? Has it been, outreach, referrals, word of mouth, website? Like how do people get in contact with you?
Um, you can go to our website, deanconstruction.com. You can go to our LinkedIn business page. We are very active. We're posting every day. So we always have something new coming up. There's always something to see. And a lot of the business right now is referral and repeat. I'm very proud to say that when, I always say I don't chase a job. I try to develop a relationship with a potential client. And, if someone sends you a job and, there's no relationship with that, you just do the job and that's it. I kind of look at it like, what good is that? I want to kind of understand the client, cultivate a relationship, and kind of grow with them. I like to tell my clients, look at Dian as an extension to your business.
Yeah, you want to partner with them. You don't want to just be an employee or a vendor, right? You want to partner with them, and as they
Correct.
continue to grow, you want to continue to grow with them, and just like you said, be that continual call. Hey, I got another project. I'd love you on it, and then that works out great for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the end goal.
So, what type of businesses are great clients of yours? Are these construction management firms, or are
Sure.
these like investors? Like, who is your like ideal client?
My ideal client are concrete contractors, rebar fabricators, and rebar installers. Those are my three main clients that I work with day in and day out. Very rarely does a GC ask me for drawings, but it has happened. But yeah, those are my three main sources of work.
So the people who are actually putting the parts and pieces together, it sounds like they're the ones who are
Exactly.
reaching out to you and say, "Hey, I want it drawn up so I know exactly what I need to do."
Correct.
Awesome. Awesome.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
we've talked a little bit about where you see the trends and where you see the industry going. So do you have any specific goals that you're personally, targeting in the next 6 to 12 months for DN Constructions?
Always. I always strive to set very big goals. I made this thing up. It's called the Million Ton Club. I would like to, for a goal for my business, our businesses, I'd like to detail and estimate 1 million tons in one fiscal year. Last year, we came up a little short. I think we were at like 687,000 tons between detailing and estimating. I really want to get to that million.
So I mean, great goal. Now, what
Thanks.
is going to help you achieve that?
What's going to help me achieve that is to continue cultivating these relationships and continuing putting out a good product. If we put out a good product, I feel again the sky is the limit. It's just gonna it grows. We work with a lot of rebar fabricators and a lot of word of mouth. One thing leads to another, and we just keep scaling it.
Well, Frank, that's great. I wish you nothing but the best here in the
Thank you.
next 6 to 12 months. I hope that you guys hit that goal of 1 million tonnage. Like that would be awesome and something really great achievement that you'd be able to kind of put out there and say that, hey, listen, it's just like all those buildings that you worked on in New York. Like every time you're in the area or anyone's down there, you could say, hey, remember I worked on that right there, and that like all our drawings put that together. And I think that's something really cool when you have something that's so tangible that you can go and see. I really
Oh yeah.
am wishing you the best here in the next year, and hope
Thank
that
you.
everything continues to go well for Dion Construction and yourself. And thank you so much for being on the
Appreciate it.
show. I thought we had a lot of great conversation and input into the world of rebar estimating and detailing and drawings.
Absolutely, Dominic. Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.